firm BHK, who's currently conducting our audits. And they have complied with that. They submitted us a bid for fiscal year 14-15 audit, which will be next as soon as we finish the previous year. And we anticipate getting started on that sometime in the September time frame, and $25,000 is their estimate. I don't think the board should take action on this. We're responding to the board's request. You have a bid. I'd like to see the results of the current audit, and this is the first time we've used this firm, and make our decision at that point. That'd be my recommendation. And over to Karina.
I didn't see a only good for X amount of days on here, so.
No, and I did talk with them when they were here last week performing the audit work, and Mark said it's perfectly fine to table this until they get the audit back. So we're estimating around September, beginning of September, so we'll have the audit back from them. He said this bid will still be good by then. That's not a problem.
Does this affect them, assuming them we're happy and we decide to engage them, that they can start immediately?
They're assuming they'll be able to. I guess the value in approving it sooner rather than later is we get on their calendar sooner rather than later. So
there's potential of pushing it back.
it shouldn't be pushed too much. If the board decides to approve it in September, I can't imagine any reason why they couldn't start the audit immediately, as long as it's not within their tax season.
First, remember, are we getting these audits in sequentially, or are we getting them all three at once?
We should get everything at once.
So we're getting, so we're got no chance to look at the interims there. So
11,
12,
12,
and 13
13,
all at once.
14 all at once, right. And the reason really is it's easier for them as they're conducting the audit to do each category at a time rather than each year at a time. So they'll do all the fixed assets, wipe that, consider that done. They'll do accounts receivable, accounts payable, and so on. So it's just easier, it's more efficient for them time-wise to do it that way.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, I don't think there's any vacancy.
Any other questions from you?
No, I think we need to wait and see what the results are.
Worked with one of our longtime tenants, Miller Printing, or My Printing Company, excuse me. As she was making some changes to the business, she did a lot of upgrades to the building. The board had agreed to extend through the June 30th of this year for any back rent to be paid as of the end of June 30th. And she's asked for a 1-month extension to this. And we're bringing it back to the board to make a decision on the 1-month extension, because the board had voted to extend it through June, so the board will have to vote to extend it further.
What's the staff recommendation? I don't see.
I mean, we don't have a problem extending it another 30 days. There is some back rent for under the current lease, which we've talked about, and they've agreed that that will also be paid up by the end of July. So we don't see any problem extending it another month.
So that's your recommendation?
Yes.
Extended? And did Candace want to talk?
I think Candace wanted to say something.
No?
Oh, no? Okay.
All right.
So I'm to understand that July 31st she'll have a zero balance?
That's our understanding, yes.
Any questions before we?
No, I'm moved to approve.
Second. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, the fitness center budget was partially approved in the 2015-16 budget submittal, and it was approved as a lump sum for capital expenditures that the board wanted to approve independently after the budget was approved. Today, the a fitness company was in and brought with them a letter of intent to engage in a contract on the east side of the event center for the establishment of a fitness center. And what we're asking today is for the board to approve $60,000 in capital improvements for electrical, HVAC, lighting, and flooring to accommodate new equipment for the fitness center at the airport, as our campaign to do quality of life improvements on the airport for tenant retention, and has our approval, or has our recommendation for approval.
Okay, and the $60,000, that will essentially make the place ready for occupation?
Correct.
What's our confidence level on the $60,000 number?
It's fairly confident. We think it'll be between 50 and 60,000. We obtained some quotes. It's been several months since we've gotten those quotes, but so we think it's possible that they'll fluctuate slightly, but it shouldn't be too much more than 50,000.
Does the letter of intent have a schedule, or a projected schedule, or anything like that?
What they're hoping, and it depends in part on how quickly we can get the renovations done, but if we can work the renovations while they're putting the business together and securing the equipment, we're targeting a November open date.
I presume it's the company that's got a lot of experience in this.
Yes, actually, they've been running a fitness center, an existing fitness center, very successfully for 6 years, but they've been in the business, or around the business for several years before that.
Good. Great.
What else is our in on this? We're gonna get the building ready, maybe cater to this type of business. They're gonna start paying rent, there's an offset on rent, or
We don't actually know yet, and those are some of the details that we're still working out with them. So, you know, one of the reasons that they've been really reluctant, I guess, to engage in a contract is just because they can't eliminate the risk for coming up here. We tried to work up a scenario where they could actually engage the companies out here to do corporate memberships, and we just couldn't make the numbers work for them. So they're agreeing to take on the risk anyway, but they will probably come back and ask for a little bit of our help to eliminate some of their risk and figure out other ways to mitigate their risks. So those are some of the details we're still working out, but the letter of intent that they signed today essentially says, while we're making the renovations, they're gonna work there into the business. They intend to sign a 5-year lease. So we believe they would be a really excellent partner for us, for the airport, for the district. And part of the reason that we've kind of been developing this relationship with them all along is we want to be able to use that main side of the building anytime we want. If Scaled wants to use it for a holiday party or an event of some sort, or even a staff meeting, we need to be able to have a company that's going to be flexible enough to shut that side of the building down and let us have an event in there. So that's one of the reasons that we've been kind of nurturing this partnership for such a long time, just to make sure that they're going to be amenable to those requests.
All right, so the recommended action is approve the expenditure of $60,000 and approve management of those funds by the CEO. Can I get a motion for approval?
Motion.
A second? Okay, any other questions from the board on this? Any public comment?
Crazy Saturday, and that this month will be July 18th. Should be nice and hot. I'll have a nice big ice chest with water in it. This month we have Lori Crown coming, and she's with Honor Flight Kern County. And Honor Flight Kern County actually has a 100-mile radius from Bakersfield. They'll take people from Lancaster as well. They're looking for World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, Vietnam War veterans, and they will send them back to the monuments in Washington, D.C., pay for everything, the plane trip, the hotel, the meals. If they need a wheelchair, no problem. They have guardians that push that wheelchair around and take care of them, and it sounds fabulous. Vince Fong is now on the board, and so he'll be here on the 18th. And we have a local man from Mojave that went last month, and he's the pastor of the Heirs of Christ Church here in Mojave, Reverend Lowry, and he's going to come. Lori said she would bring some other veterans along, just to let people know how it impacted them to see these memorials. And I haven't seen the World War II memorial yet, but I've got to say, the one memorial there that gets me is that Korean War memorial with those statues are so lifelike. But all of the memorials are impressive and need to be seen. So I think this is a wonderful program. So that's our plan. I've asked some of my friends that have airplanes from World War II and Vietnam era and Korea War. Of course, we have the F-86 and we'll have it out. But I thought I'd ask Matt if he'd maybe fly something up from Van Nuys. and ask Dave Van Hoyt. This is the same weekend that everyone's leaving for Oshkosh, so a lot of our younger scaled engineers won't be here because they're flying back to Oshkosh. But please come out and meet Lori Crown. She's fabulous. And I think it'll be fun. It's from 9 a.m. until 1. And we do it a little bit earlier because of the heat, but boy, it's still plenty hot. Last time was plenty hot. So hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Any others?
The grinding on the GA taxiway south side lane, the one that's been lifting, was complete and crack sealed. At the end of that, I approved an expenditure. We anticipate to be right about $10,000 on that, and that will be, we haven't received the invoice yet, but I did approve that. California approved a law the governor signed last year, which rolled into effect this week, and it was sick leave for part-time employees, which could potentially have an impact to the district, albeit a minor. But the impact of that could spill over into our contract tower because the majority of the controllers are part-time controllers, and it may have an impact on our contract with the DSI. And I'm not sure exactly how or to what extent, and we've put that back on the contractor to have them explain it to us, whether those anticipatory costs will be contained in the fringe or some emerging unfunded line which was not anticipated when they entered into the contract. And I'm sure we are being viewed as being somewhat critical in those questions, but they're the right questions to ask. And I know, Chairman, you and I and Karina certainly understand the makeup of overhead and how it can be billed back. If a private company doesn't have the option of billing it back, I'm not sure, once we have a signed contract, why it's even our concern, but I'm curious to see what they have to say. And we will give a full report from staff at the next board meeting on what the potential impacts could be to us on this law. I have to have a resolution on it also. I reported that Grant 26 is now closed. We've invoiced the FAA for the final closeout on that. That closes out all current FAA grants with the district. And like Karina indicated, just for the record, we are in the final stages of Grant 29 and awaiting an award on that, and we'll brief that to the board, and that'll come to you also for approval. I have two guests in the audience today. Cam Martin is with us. He's full-time with NASA Armstrong, works for David McBride, long-term friend, former naval officer, and he's been working with us today. And I see Captain Gordon Cross in the audience. Captain Cross, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great friend and patriot. And any questions for us? And thanks for letting me have 2 weeks off. That's a first in my 46-year working career. I've never taken 2 weeks off. And I now see why people do it.
We're retired.
Well, I'm glad you were young enough to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'll say.
You know, just indulge me for 30 seconds. This was the first time in 15 years that I'd spent more than an evening or a day with my sons, and we spent 12 days together in Alaska fishing.
Wonderful.
So that's priceless.
No, it only took 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's still priceless.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Board of Director announcements. Okay, I have one. Oh, you had something, Joanne?
No.
Okay. Before last, the National Test Pilot School finished up our third annual flight test camp. We had 17 students, of which 15 were from local high schools. One was also from a local high school, but came because, not because their school was invited, but because he was an employee child. and then we had one from out of state. The 7 local high schools were Mojave, Cal City, Rosamond, Tehachapi, the Tehachapi Charter School, I think it's Willow Oaks, isn't it? Willow Springs, one of those two, Willow Oaks, I think. Palmdale Academy, and then Quartz Hill was the last one that the employee student was from. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors for the camp, Union Bank, the Society of Experimental Test Pilots, and the Mojave here in Spaceport. They did not donate, Mojave did not donate money, but they donated significant time and efforts to helping us with this thing. I'd also like to thank the companies that participated in our tours. The students got to tour Virgin Galactic, Scale Composites, Straddle Launch, Masson Rockets, the Mojave Air and Spaceport to include the tower and fire station, and the ATK Orbital L1011, which is the first time we'd had them on the thing also. They actually gave a very good tour. So it was a very successful flight camp. 5 of the campers, first time they'd ever flown on an airplane, was when they flew on the Merlin to take some data. And it all worked out very good. And again, we do this, this year was our first year doing the camp in the memory of Mr. Mike Hill, who was our first camp director. So, thank you very much.
What did the kids have to say?
Kids were just mostly all smiles. We had one young gentleman who had just was a very serious young man from Mojave, actually. And the first day, I don't think he cracked a single smile. And by the end, I said, "Hey, you're finally smiling." He goes, "Oh, I had 100 smiles today." So, it was really good.
That's so good.